Welcome to the first video of the AP Physics series and the first video on the channel, probably. We're going to be talking about scalars and vectors in one dimension. This is the first of the AP Physics series, but really can be applied to any physics class you're taking that needs this kind of information. So yeah, hope you'll follow along on the journey. Let's talk about scalars versus vector. What is a scalar? What is a vector? Um, what does that mean when you say scalars? Because we'll be using scalars and vectors throughout the whole class, so it's kind of important fundamental information here. Let's talk about what are some examples of scalars that we might see, and what is their like kind of vector form. So like an example of a scalar that you all are probably very familiar with is something like distance, for example. And a vector form of distance would be called displacement. So what is the difference between a distance and a displacement? We'll talk a little bit more about this in the next video. But as you see there, the scalar quantity is only the magnitude, while the vector has a magnitude and a direction. So if we travel from point A to point B, and we're going down like this, right? This scalar quantity might be, let's say, 5 miles. So the scalar would be, the distance would be 5 miles, but the displacement would be like 5 miles south, let's say. So it needs this distance part, which that's what makes it a vector, is the distance. And another thing that we'll talk a little bit more about, but for a vector, at least for displacement and distance, if you were to travel along path 2, let's say, your distance would be greater than 5 miles because you're traveling a longer distance, but your displacement is still just your final position compared with your initial position. So it would still be 5 miles, your displacement, but your distance can be different. So that's like the distinction there. So another example of a scalar would be like speed, how fast something is moving, while the vector would be like velocity. So if someone is traveling, let's say they're coming down here at 60 miles per hour, their speed is 60 miles per hour, but their velocity has this 60 miles per hour south. And something that could be different is like you could have you have individual speeds along each point in your path, but you could also have individual velocity, but your velocity direction is going to change here. So when we talk about velocity, we'll often talk about the average velocity over the period, so that you don't have to account for each one of those. But the main thing here is that every vector needs a direction associated with it. So just a few other scalars that we'll commonly see is stuff like mass, or time, or energy units are all scalar quantities. They don't have a direction. Some of these can't have a vector version because a mass does not have a direction. It's just how heavy, kind of. Not heavy really, but you know what I'm saying. So then like other vectors we'll talk about is acceleration. Oops. Acceleration. Or force. Or momentum. And we'll talk more about these throughout the different units. But these are stuff we'll see throughout the class and throughout your time in physics. So it's important to know what's a vector, what's a scalar, and the differences between them. All right, so let's talk about how do we notate a vector. So a vector is always denoted by an arrow. So if I just draw an arrow, let's say like this, that is going to be a vector. So a vector will have its magnitude, which is the length of it. I'll just abbreviate that. That's the magnitude, and it also has the direction, which is the direction it's pointing. So if it's off some horizontal, you could have some angle of the vector. which then now there's two different components of the vector that'll have like your x component and your y component of the vector. And we'll get more into specifics when we need to use these, but it's important to know that there is some direction in one coordinate and one in the y direction, so that's how the direction is displayed. And so we usually call this end the tail of the vector, and this end with the arrow the head of the vector. Sometimes call it other things, but that's how I'll notate it. So when we're comparing vectors, it's important to know like the magnitudes of the arrows can be displayed as relative to each other. So like if you wanted to say like 10 meters per second right, you would draw, let's say, a vector like this, right? So now this distance is 10 meters per second, but if I wanted to draw like 20 meters per second to the right, I would have to draw this arrow like twice as long to show that the magnitude is twice as long as the original one. Or if I wanted to show 10 meters per second left, I could then draw it like this and have it like that. So that's how arrows are important, because the direction matters and the lengths are for their relative magnitudes. And the last little bit of vector notation is for variables. So if we want to have a vector variable, let's say we're doing like velocity, vectors will typically be shown with the little arrow above it. Or sometimes if you're only talking about one direction, you can say have the direction here. So like this arrow right here, if this was vector v, this would be v of x and this would be v of y, right? So it's already kind of showing the direction within it, so it doesn't need the arrow at the top. While a scalar, like let's say mass, would just be an m, no notation at the top. So if we were to write like a common equation, we might see like force equals mass times acceleration, right? You've probably heard about that. The force will have a vector, the acceleration will have a vector, but the mass is not a vector because it's a scalar. Alright, so let's do some adding vectors here in one dimension. We'll do it using drawing and then do it using like variables. So, alright, let's read the question. So we got a runner runs 3 miles due north, then runs 5 miles south, then runs another 8 miles north, and we have to draw the resultant vector. Alright. Alright, so we'll start down here. So we just have to choose some starting point to start our vectors at. So I'll start at this point right here. So we see the first thing that happens is the runner runs 3 miles north. So I'll use each line here as 1 mile to draw them relative to each other. So I'll have the arrow run up this way as 3 miles north. So I'll just note this as 3. And now it turns around and runs 5 miles south. So whenever you're adding vectors, you always want to draw them tip to tail, I think. So you can start from here and draw it down 5. So that will be your 5 miles south. And then it turns around again and runs another 8 miles north. So I can draw it from down here and go 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, I don't know why it got so thick there, but whatever. So then we have 8 right there. Alright. So now we see that we could imagine these being all in one line, but just so you can see them, they're moved over. The vector is not actually moving to the right or left at all. So we have to draw a resultant vector. So that means we want to start at the same place as our original starting point and draw to the top here. So I'll use a different color. So our resultant vector is starting from this spot and goes up to the top here. And usually sometimes resultant vectors are drawn like with this double line here so that they stand out. And so now how many miles is this? So we don't have to worry about all this other stuff that happened. We can just count like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So our resultant vectors will be 6 miles. And because it's up and we denoted north as up, 6 miles north. Alright. Alright, so let's try let's try doing this one down here. So we're going to use the same question, but do it using different variables, right? So I'll just scroll down. So we have, I kind of need the question actually. All right. So we know that the runner runs three different segments per se. So we'll denote the positive direction, and I'll just write this up here, the positive direction as north, and the negative direction as south. So if we want to find our displacement first, which we'll just write as a big D, so we have three different displacements here. Right? So if we want to find the total displacement, we know that these will have directions, and as we noted over here, these signs of each variable will be how we get the direction. So first it's 3 miles north. So we can draw in the 3 miles here, and it's a positive 3 because it's going up, it's going north. And then it goes 5 miles south, so we're still adding this variable here, but it's going to be going in the negative direction because it's south, so we can say -5. And then the last part is going another 8 miles north, so we can use a +8. And if we solve this out, you'll see we get 6 miles, and because it's positive, it's going to be going north. And we see that's the same answer we got up here using the drawing. But now what if we want to find the distance? And I'll just write the distance as a small d equals d1 plus d2 plus d3. I'll scroll down a little bit. So if we want to find the distance, we know the distance is a scalar quantity, so we don't need any direction. So there's no positive, negative. We just want to write each mile distance they traveled. So they traveled 3 miles at first, and then they traveled another 5 miles, and then another 8 miles. And notice we don't care what direction it's traveling. It's still traveling that distance. So your final answer will be, if we add these up, 16 miles. And note there's no direction on this. So even though they traveled 6 miles north in the end, the full journey is 16 miles. So yeah, that's all I got for the first video. Yeah, leave any questions in the comments, I guess. And yeah, see you in the next one.